Hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. You know, in an off season of sports, we have a lot to talk about today, including a rule in a sport that has changed it forever. But before we get into any of that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who has reached the best part of old age, and that is it won't last much longer. My dad, Tim.
You trying to tell me something?
What's the best part of old age? It doesn't last long.
I'm not going anywhere for a little while, I don't think.
I hope not. You better not. I miss you.
I miss you too. And
especially considering I have tape among tape where I prove you wrong in argument after argument.
remember that
It's a joyous thing.
I will adjust the will to make sure none of that ever comes out.
I think that will was adjusted a long time ago. But we do have some big news, some things I didn't expect, which is the NBA Conference Finals are upon us. And
Amazing.
Who expected this?
The Lakers and Denver on one side out west, and Boston and Miami. I mean, the Miami played the Bucks, and really, let's be honest, they dominated the Bucks.
Yeah, it
Giannis
was.
got hurt, but I don't even think if Giannis doesn't get hurt, Miami, they have any answers for Miami. Jimmy Butler just destroyed them.
Yes.
And he has taken that, he's put that team on his shoulders and said, let's go. We're going to take this all the way.
This is playoff Jimmy. This
Yeah.
is what we've seen since he's been in Miami. He hits the playoffs, and it's a different world for him.
And here's going to be the question in the Eastern Conference. You've got Boston, who is by far and away the most talented team left. But their coach isn't as good as Miami's coach.
Spoelstra has proven time and time again he is the best coach in the NBA. There's not even a question. You can't even argue this point anymore.
No, and from somebody who Pat Riley kind of handpicked when he left and went in the front office, everybody questioned the pick at the time.
Yep.
They thought, oh, well, he can win because he's got LeBron,
Right.
he's got Dwayne Wade, on and on and on.
Right. Any coach in this situation would be doing the same thing.
He's turned into just an unbelievable head coach.
He's an X's and O guy, which
Yep.
Pat Riley always was.
Correct.
And so it makes sense why Pat Riley liked him a lot.
Well, he was the guy who broke down film.
Yep.
He lived in the film room. Who do you think? You think Boston? I think Boston's talent is just going to will out in this case.
I don't know. From a fan point of view and watching the playoffs, I want to see Miami win.
Oh, it'd be great.
I really do. I am all in on Jimmy Butler now. From the fact that in the beginning of the season, he refused to cut his hair just to take team pictures with that ridiculous haircut, only to cut it afterwards. Like, what an amazing move. They're actually using his video game face in some of these games so they don't show that picture.
I love the picture.
And then you have Boston, which is on the verge of becoming a dynasty. They have the team in place. Jason Tatum is as good as advertised. Talk about a steal. You trade back, and you still get the guy you want, who turns into everything you expected him to be and more.
Boston's been, they've been in this round 3 of the last 4 years.
Yeah.
They
They're in
are,
the finals last year.
I think they've been in the finals 3 of the last 4 years.
No, they've been in the conference finals. You're right
Okay,
the first time.
Oh, that's right. Okay. They are just the most talented team and the most fun team to watch. They would have just taken away, my homerism. I'm a Bucks fan, but all season long, the Bucks didn't match up well against Boston.
No, we were saying that in the beginning. We were expecting an Eastern. I'll slow down now.
Thank
An
you.
Eastern Conference Finals of the Bucks and the Celtics, and the question the entire time was, how are the Bucks going to match up against them?
And it wasn't going to be good.
No.
Well, because the Bucks have never shown that they can just sit back and just bomb it from 3-point land.
Boston has the better team. Boston was better coached. It was going to be a hard time for them, and now you have a better team in Boston.
Correct.
Boston is the best team left in this playoff hunt.
By far, I think.
It's not even close. You could argue Denver because of depth and what they're getting from players, but you have players on Denver playing out of their mind. Where Boston is playing exactly where they're supposed to play. But you have a team in Miami that is, you want to talk about grit? You want to see the definition of that word? Look at the Miami Heat right now. It is just all grit, willing themselves to win, and you have a coach that's really good.
that X's and O's wise is going to be ready for Boston.
Yeah.
He will make adjustments Boston's not ready for.
Nope.
It's going to be the best semifinal I think you could have expected considering what has happened.
It's the most exciting semifinal. Like, I obviously was really excited a few years ago when the Bucks won.
Sure.
Because it was the Bucks. But this one is a really good final where the matchup's going to be great.
And then out on the West, you have the Lakers versus Denver. And for a lot of reasons, I'm a huge Denver fan through this. They can fire it from three, but the Lakers have LeBron. They have Anthony Davis. I think the centers, Kukoc and Davis, are going to offset each other a little bit.
Probably. But you have Jokic.
Yeah.
Who is...
Oh, he's the best scorer in the league.
Amazing.
Yes.
I really want to see them bring another start at Denver to match up with him, but I think those days are done, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But you have LeBron. How can you not be cheering for LeBron James to take a Lakers team that had no business being in the playoffs?
Just like he did with Cleveland.
No business being in the playoffs. He's 38 years old. He is beaten up. The last couple seasons, he's been real hurt. Anthony Davis, who is one of the better players of the game when he's healthy, just showing up, getting put in a wheelchair off the court for a mild concussion. But that's another story. I wouldn't allow myself to do that, but that's a different story. But you have LeBron James, who is just taking this team under his wing and said, we're going to go.
Look, I have nothing. I was the biggest. Lakers were my favorite team when I was.
But you don't like LeBron James.
Not a huge fan, but I am a huge Denver fan because, again, I usually root for the underdog.
Listen, I get people that say it's the whole Aaron Rodgers argument. I get you don't like him as a person for whatever reason. But as a player, you cannot deny he is the best in the game.
Sure, over the last however many years, he's been
fun to watch. He's exciting. You're seeing something you're never going to see again. Even him being 38 years old, you are seeing something you will never see again. We've never seen this before since Magic Johnson, and we're not going to see it again.
I think we'll see something like it again.
Not in this way. A player that can play all five positions. Well, you talk about Magic being one of the greatest of all time.
Magic, and so is LeBron. I'm not saying he's not one of the greatest of all time. He's probably the single most talented player to ever play in the league.
He's probably the greatest athlete of my generation.
But is he the greatest basketball player of all time? No. I do not put him up there. And tell you why.
I'm not saying he's the greatest basketball player of all time. I know you're a Kareem homer. I understand.
I've never said, well, yeah, Kareem is the greatest of all time. But the reason I don't say LeBron is the greatest is because he says he's the greatest. Michael Jordan, when they asked him, are you the greatest of all time? He said, how can I say that? I never played against the Oscars.
And that's the correct answer.
And it is the correct answer.
This is you not liking him as a person. This is you not liking him as a person. This is the same arguments I hear about Aaron Rodgers all the time, where they say he's arrogant, they don't like him. I don't care. They're allowed to have whatever personality they want.
Sure.
It doesn't change. They're amazing to watch on the court.
They are, and LeBron is amazing. He is amazing to watch on the court. He's the most talented player in the last 20 years we've seen. I'm not taking that away from him. However, I've always been a fan of a guy. I like guys like Giannis who say, I'm going to stay here. I've never been a fan of the super team, I guess is the whole thing. He lost me when he went from Cleveland to Miami. That whole the choice, whatever.
Sure. Iman Shumpert has said that on several podcasts now that LeBron James ruined basketball. But going away from that, though.
Back when I was watching it, you would never see Magic and Bird playing on the same team. Well, they wouldn't do it.
I think it's going back to that. But I want to finish this conversation because I want to point out your hypocrisy here.
My hypocrisy knows no bounds.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, because you defend Rodgers to the nth degree for his personality and the person he is, because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Correct.
Yet, you are saying you don't like watching LeBron James because of how he acts.
No, I do like watching LeBron James. I don't want him to win, and that's the second week in a row. You've got to fix your microphone.
I have to fix my microphone stand. I'm going to hold it now.
I loved watching LeBron. I would have loved to have seen LeBron back in the day have to compete again with the old rules. That's the other big problem I have in the NBA. It's the no-touch league anymore. Back in the 90s and the 80s, these guys would just beat the crap out of each other for 7 games. They were wars. I mean, the Dirty Boys,
Sure.
Pistons, the Patrick Ewing Knicks, and you had even the Bucks back in the day when you had Bob Lanier and Sidney Moncrief. They were banging underneath at all times.
But you could also say that today requires now more skill from players because you can't just go up and bang people and bump into people and play that type of game.
It's a 3-point game now.
It had to be because you
because
couldn't
they
go
changed the
in without
rules.
there being a foul. Exactly. It had to be. Steph Curry helped change the game. It is what it is. The issue is you're going to see this change a lot because you notice Giannis is the star now. You have Jokic as a star now. You have Embiid as your star now. It's going back to big men being the star because the reality of the situation is nobody else is Klay Thompson. Or not Klay. Well, Klay Thompson too, but nobody else is Steph Curry. I was thinking Splash Brothers and Klay Thompson came out instead of Steph Curry. At least they're on the same team. I'm in the same ballpark here.
But you're going to see another Steph Curry.
You're not going to see that again. You're not seeing that from Steph Curry now. So when you're talking about this, you're seeing it go back. Because really the rules today benefit a big man more than they ever did in the past.
To a certain extent, but you look at the Bucks series when they played Miami.
Yeah.
They weren't letting anything get by, and they were calling ticky-tacky fouls.
Right.
They weren't letting them play, and most of the times in the playoffs, they let them start to play.
That's bad refereeing. What are you going to do?
I know, and I know I sound like a homer saying that the refs took the game away in the Bucks-Miami series. I've already said Miami dominated, but the refs did have an impact on that series.
I love how he's losing the argument,
I'm not losing the argument
of LeBron James, and I point out his hypocrisy.
There's no losing.
And so he changes the subject very skillfully, by the way. That was impressive because you brought me along. I didn't know we were going there. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
More NBA. Okay, so let's just do it. Finish this way. In the series, are you taking Boston or Miami?
My heart wants Miami, but Boston is too talented of a team. If Miami gets through Boston, they are a team of destiny.
Wow, Miami playing LA, that'd be well.
That's the matchup I want. I will watch every second of Miami versus LA.
I think Boston is going to win as well,
but I do think Boston's going to win in 6.
And I'm pulling for Denver in 6 on the West, just because it's a different team. Denver's never been to the finals.
They haven't. No.
I would love to see that. I would love to see, just because it would piss off the networks. Personally, I would love to see a Miami-Denver final.
Yeah, because nobody's going to watch it.
People will watch it.
They want a Boston Lakers final.
Of course they do.
So bad. And you want to see if the NBA's fixed?
Watch the
fouls.
Yes.
But, you talk about LeBron. What it also does is it takes 2 super teams out of it. I'm not saying Boston's a super team. Tatum's clearly the star and Brown's clearly the Robin. But you have the Lakers who LeBron...
Star and the Robin. You mean Batman and Robin?
I don't speak good.
Go on.
I don't speak good, okay? But you have LeBron who brought in Anthony Davis, which he was getting older and he needed to find another star to play with. He created the super team.
LeBron is the GM of that team.
You could argue he didn't start the super team. You have to remember, a super team was created. The only reason LeBron had the idea was because a super team was created before him.
Who?
Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce to Boston.
That was not a super team. That was a team, guys at the end of their career.
3 Hall of Famers. Kevin Garnett,
sure,
the most underrated player of all time.
Because he played in Minnesota.
Ray Allen,
at the end of his career,
at the time, was the greatest 3-point shooter of all time.
He was, but he was at the end of his career.
And Paul Pierce, who is probably rated right where he needs to be.
Probably. I don't consider that a super team.
What are you talking about? It's 3 stars.
It is 3 stars.
3 Hall of Famers on the same team.
All outstanding. But
that's where the idea came from.
Different points of the career. No, LeBron wanted to play with his buddies. He wanted to play with Dwayne Wade. And he's done it throughout his career. I just don't think we'll ever see it. I think people have been calling him out for it, which is why he went back to Cleveland.
He wanted to win a title with Cleveland.
And
again, brought in Kevin Love, Kyrie.
Sure.
Which LeBron's probably the reason Kyrie went crazy. and LeBron
So-
James, and now you come into the Lakers, and he's been trying to build that again, but he can't.
Who are you going to take in the Lakers Denver series?
I'd really like to see a Boston Lakers series. I'd really like to see LeBron push for one more, because I think if he takes this Laker team to win a finals, the conversation of LeBron changes forever. Because this is a title he's really
Yeah, the one
winning.
the one in the bubble I don't count. I mean,
No.
it counts, but it
It
was
doesn't.
a different atmosphere.
It doesn't. It's where playoff Jimmy was born, though.
True.
So I'd like to see the Lakers. I do think you're going to see Boston, Denver in this final. Denver was the 1 seed. Boston's a 2 seed. They're both very talented teams, and that's going to be a really good finals to watch. But I would love to see a Miami LA series.
So with the TV network,
Yeah.
they are they
Yes.
are rubbing their rabbit's foot and their prayer beads and
They-
everything they can do.
They're paying the refs. They want to see the Lakers in the finals.
They
That's
want-
what they want to see.
They want the Lakers in Boston.
Yep. And then we have LeBron on his own for one more year, and then Bronny comes in, which is going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Bronny's going to USC for a year,
Yes, there's no question about that.
and then he'll come out.
There's no question about that. You're going to see you're going to see 4 out of the top 7 picks on that USC team.
Well, and what's going to be interesting is whoever LeBron is playing for, then things will magically work out so that they can get Bronny out.
Oh, it's the Patrick Ewing draft.
Yes. It was
Just put the envelope in the freezer. I don't think they do the envelope anymore, but whoever says that wasn't rigged is a liar.
I still am trying to figure out back in the day how the Lakers, who had a good team at that time, ended up with Magic Johnson. It just
I don't know.
and Bird ends up on Boston.
It's a magical
It's a
thing.
miracle. It's like going to Catholic school.
Bird
It's a
was in the
miracle.
league. No, they came out at the same time, didn't they?
They played in the 1979 NCAA finals.
They came out the same. I knew that, but for some reason I was like, no, Bird was in the league a lot longer than Magic.
No.
But it's not true. They came in the same time.
Same league.
And it only lasted the same amount of time for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah, but I've been to Terre Haute, and I've seen Indiana State. Talking about a small school.
Yeah.
That just shows how amazing Larry Bird was, because he may be the greatest player of all time.
I mean, you want to know what the word prodigy means.
Yes,
That is
a
Larry Bird.
basketball savant.
I have a question for you here.
Go ahead.
So the Sixers obviously are one of the teams that are knocked out.
Yeah.
And
And their coach got knocked
they
out today.
fired Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
Who is proving more and more and more that he is the most overrated coach of all time. He wins 1 finals with the super team where Kevin Durant not Kevin Durant. Jeez, I am
Anyway,
struggling today. Kevin Garnett really willed that team to the playoffs. Paul Pierce showed up and Ray Allen made some big shots, but
everybody bought into
and
Doc.
Rajon Rondo came out of nowhere. Nobody expected that. He's the forgotten, unsung hero of that.
But Doc has a very, very organized kind of offense he likes to run, and everybody bought into that, and they played within the system
Well, he's a player's coach.
to a certain extent. Some people, I know he didn't get along with Harden, but is he too old school for today's players?
I hate that phrase.
I know.
I hate that
I
phrase.
understand that, and it's been the same thing for decades. Everybody says that.
You need to adjust to different personalities in the NBA. Yeah, you do. But to say old school, listen, you got to run. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Like,
I've always been a guy. Whoever your coach is,
Figure it out.
you shut up and you play.
yeah, I mean, you cannot like the coach you're playing for, and you can do what you need to do. But at the end of the day, you got to show up. We don't all like our bosses, right? But I mean, either leave or
Do
work
something.
through it, right? Figure it out. Make it work. I've respected my favorite bosses were the ones I didn't get along with at first, except for one. But all the rest of them, it's like, you have a way, I have a way, and let's work together to figure this out. Because I was always a top performer, right? Anything I do. Because I work hard, I don't give up till I figure it out.
Right.
And even when I'm failing, okay, I'm going to learn and figure it out. And it's just working together to make it happen. I don't think Embiid ever fully bought into Doc Rivers. Harden definitely didn't buy into Doc Rivers.
So now you've got Milwaukee looking for a head coach yet, and Budenholzer is on the list for Philadelphia. I don't see that being a match.
You know who I think is going to be hired as the 76ers head coach?
Who?
JJ Redick.
I could see that. I mean, with the Bucks, I still think that Becky Hammons may come back into the picture.
Even though she's suspended now for God knows why. I am...
Which is probably the reason I think she'd be a great NBA coach.
That whole situation is dumb. If you look into it, we have other things to talk about now.
You're just afraid to get into it.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to put it this way. I don't know enough about the situation to form an educated opinion on this.
It's something
but if it's what I think it is, I am extremely annoyed. And maybe we'll talk about it on the next show when I know more about it, because I don't know enough to make an opinion. And so I'm going to hold my thoughts until I learn more. But if it's what I think it is, I'm not happy
Becky
about
Hammons
it.
is a true disciple of Greg Popovich.
Oh, for sure.
And she just has a very low tolerance for BS.
Yeah, there's a whole... Again, we're not getting into the situation because not everything's out yet. And again,
No.
I have not studied the situation enough on that yet. And so I don't want to make a comment when I don't understand it.
And I don't either. I just saw it before I walked in here. So
Same. I saw it an hour before we recorded. So I'm going to hold it to myself. But we're talking Doc Rivers. You have Budenholzer, who was fired from the Bucks. Could those two swap teams?
I could see that possibly happening.
I think Budenholzer is a great fit, especially if Harden stays with the 76ers.
And you got Doc Rivers, who's a Wisconsin guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think. Don't hold me to that.
You look that up. I don't think Doc Rivers is a good fit.
I think I hope whoever they hire is a guy that Giannis has been consulted on.
You're not making a coaching hire without Giannis. They did
Really?
did that with Jason Kidd. They fired Jason Kidd without Giannis, but he wasn't the star he is now.
It wasn't the same thing.
But there's a conversation that can be had. You don't need to hire the guy that Giannis wants. That's a bad decision.
No, but
you need to make sure Giannis is going to work for this guy.
You make sure he buys in.
You can't.
That's all you can ask anybody.
Because if you're going to bring in a guy, because Giannis is a very easygoing but a very hardworking personality, if you're going to bring in a guy who's just going to be hard-nosed and take that fun-loving personality away from him, he's not going to be as good. It's the only reason he's in Milwaukee.
Yeah, Doc Rivers went to Marquette. I was right.
Nice.
God. I thought I had lost my mind. I'm very sorry, folks.
Well, then if you can get Jimmy Butler to come to Milwaukee and have that Marquette connection, hey, now I'm all in. Now we're having a different conversation.
Well, then obviously, we'd have the outside threat that we have not had. In all fairness to Budenholzer, we have not had a three-point threat for a long time.
Because people go cold.
Exactly.
Playoff time comes, and Giannis is the only one that shows up for the game, and everybody just waits for Giannis to do something.
And that's what you can't do.
Because the problem is Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez are defensive players. It's fun when they show up on the offensive side of the ball, but they're not meant to do that.
No, they're not.
But the guys you have there, Chris Middleton, Grayson Allen, and the kid from Notre Dame, none of them showed up on the offensive side of the ball when you needed them to.
Well, and
you need to reset that team.
They're complementary players. You need to reset the team. You have to make a decision whether you're going to keep Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And if
Drew Holiday, yes. Chris Middleton, no.
And are you going to keep Brook Lopez?
Yes.
I hope so. I think he should finish his career in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Giannis is very much like Rodgers in one sense. He builds relationships with these guys, and they become very tight friends.
Yeah.
And he wants to see them continue on the team.
It's great.
Sometimes that just can't happen.
Listen, he's getting hurt. I hope he goes to another team and has all the success in the world.
Chris Middleton.
Yeah, Chris Middleton. But you need to bring in somebody else.
You need to shake up just the chemistry on that team. The other player, the other coach that has been rumored as one of the top candidates in Philadelphia is Nick Nurse, which I could see as well.
Yeah, former Toronto Raptor, the one that knocked the Bucks out of the finals.
Correct.
when Kawhi Leonard was there.
Are you surprised it's taken the Bucks so long to make a hire?
They won't make a hire until after the finals.
I think they're targeting somebody.
I think so too. They've gotten permission to talk to some coaches that are still coaching right now. So I don't know. I could see them trying to get Ham back in Milwaukee because he left Milwaukee to go to the Lakers. He's not leaving, but I could see them going after him.
I don't see them doing that.
I honestly don't think the Bucks know who they want. I really don't.
I think they know what they want, and they hope they'll know it when they see it.
Right.
And I hope they give Becky Hammond another chance to interview.
She did. She was one of the candidates.
Okay.
Yeah, she's one of the candidates for all the teams right now.
She should be.
And I would love to see Becky Hammond break the barrier. I think it would be great for sports. It really would. And I think she's a qualified candidate for the job. This would not be a hire just because you want the first woman in coaching. This is a woman who is very qualified for this position and would do really good. The locker room conversation, I mean, that's you got to work through that and figure that out.
They'll figure that out. I mean,
But, I mean, the first woman coach since Whoopi Goldberg took over the Knicks in whatever that terrible movie was.
Oh, my God. I can't even believe you went there. Wow.
I liked that movie as a kid.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. There's another situation going on in the NBA that I want to know what you think about.
Yeah.
The Jay Morant situation.
John Morant.
John Morant, sorry. No, you don't have a Y there? I don't have my glasses. Sorry, the John Morant deal. I'm having a day as well.
Yeah, one of the stars of the NBA. I don't get it.
I don't either.
Because whatever happened in Denver, so those of you that don't know what the John Morant deal is, and you follow sports, you've been living under a rock, but in case you don't, you just watch this show because I'm attractive and he's funny.
Other way around.
Well, I'm definitely not funny.
And I'm definitely not attractive, so...
I had it right the first time. But you're good looking for an old man. Let's put it that way. With one foot in the grave, you are a good looking man.
Can we get back to John Morant?
So when the Denver thing happened, I was like, okay, he got suspended because I thought, okay, it's illegal to have a firearm in Denver. You illegally brought in the gun. Okay, whatever. And then this happened in an Instagram video, an IG Live. And he's suspended again. And then I find out the Denver thing, he didn't do anything illegal. He didn't point at anybody. The police let him go right away.
He just had it on him.
He just had a gun on him. It was his gun. What are we talking about here? Why is he being suspended?
Is he concealed carry permitted in Denver?
It might be open carry in Denver.
I don't know.
In the state of Wisconsin, it's open carry. You can walk down the street with a loaded shotgun. You just can't hide it from people.
Right. Look, I don't like how political all sports has gotten. And this seems to be a very political decision by the NBA leadership.
I just don't understand. And maybe you can help me understand in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. I don't understand why he's being suspended. If he has a gun legally, if he's not doing anything illegal with that gun, he has a right as an American citizen to have a gun. No matter, do I like the way he's acting? No. Do I think he should be more mature? Yeah. But I'm a guy in my 30s who's past that stage. So of course I do. Is he a role model? No, but he's not supposed to be a role model. He's supposed to be one of the best athletes on the planet, and he's doing that very well.
Ask Charles Barkley about that.
Right.
He's not there to be a role model.
Right. So why is he being suspended for having a gun that's his, that he legally owns?
My bigger problem is he did a TikTok video. He wasn't around anybody.
Instagram live video.
Okay, my mistake. But nobody was around him. He wasn't in public. He was in a car.
Waved it, dancing to a song.
Yeah. Is it a bad look?
We don't know if it was loaded. I didn't see if it was. Maybe it was. I don't know.
Neither does the NBA.
I'm sure the safety was on.
I'm hoping it was. I'm hoping he's a responsible gun owner, but I'm sorry. And I will talk about some of this later on. But when did we become a country that punishes people for words or for videos?
This isn't words. You're getting ahead of yourself. I'm now really nervous for the last word.
Instagram Live he's exercising, in my mind, a freedom of speech. He's putting out a video.
It's Second Amendment rights to have a gun, right?
Yep.
No matter if you like the Second Amendment or not, he has a right to have a gun. If he's owning it legally, I'm with you. I've definitely changed my tune on that over the years.
You have. Again, the older you get, the smarter I get.
Yeah, right. Well, after being in Florida and making friends with farmers, where I didn't realize that the only thing that takes out a wild hog is an AK rifle,
bazooka, pretty much.
It's like, oh, you need this for farming. Got it. This is a different conversation. Yes. And after learning more about weapons in general, it's like, okay.
Anyways,
but we're talking about a handgun that he didn't use illegally.
It's not a good look. I get the NBA for saying, look, this isn't a good look for us.
It's a bad image.
It's a bad image.
This is a guy you made your star.
But talk to him. Don't just suspend him.
Well, and they did. They talked to him, suspended him for 8 games. They sent him to some counseling. I don't know.
For what exactly?
I mean, does the kid need to grow up? Yeah.
Does everybody in their 20s need to grow up? Yeah.
He gets to hang out with guys that he idolized as a kid now, and he's kind of living a lifestyle that he looked up to.
I'm hoping there's more to the story than I'm missing.
There's got to be, because if you're the NBA and you're suspending a kid just for having a gun on him, then there's a problem with the NBA. Problem. You cannot just suspend people because they're doing something you don't like. That's not part of the contract. If he's not doing anything illegal, if he's not doing anything that he's getting arrested for,
correct.
What are we talking about?
He's never shot anyone.
Right.
He's never. I mean,
if you want to send him to hunter's safety or gun safety, whatever it's called now,
he's probably been through it.
Then do that. Because I think anybody that has a gun should do that anyways.
And I heard somebody say, well, they're trying to get him out of this gangster lifestyle. Do we know he's a gangster lifestyle?
No. I don't know enough about the kid.
I don't either.
All I know is that he's getting suspended for having a gun.
Now, never having a gun in a place where he shouldn't have.
Yeah, it seems like it was perfectly... Again, he wasn't arrested. He wasn't charged. He didn't get a ticket for having a gun in Denver. I don't know that situation. It seemed a little bit more intense at the time. I'm not remembering it correctly. But in this video specifically, for the Grizzlies to suspend him indefinitely, I get you're in Memphis where gun crime is a bigger deal. But again, he's not supposed to be a role model for your kids. You're supposed to be a role model for your kids as a parent.
Correct.
If you're relying on an athlete to raise your kids, then you need to focus more at home and be a role model yourself. And Ja Morant waving a gun around isn't going to change. I mean, if kids find that cool, they already found that cool.
Exactly. Exactly. It was just the whole thing. Something's just not setting right.
Yeah, I don't get it. For me, guns scare me, as they should scare everybody. They're very dangerous, right? But I don't have any issues with people having one. There are people that have guns that are safer with that gun than I probably am with a paperclip.
Look, I grew up in an era where kids would bring guns in the back of their pickup trucks to school because they went out deer hunting afterwards.
Hey, I was at the end of that era, but sure enough, we still had kids with shotguns in the back of pickup trucks. It was more a look thing, but it was still something they did.
Something they did, something they need. A lot of times they were just going out and going hunting after school was over. It's just a different time, I guess. And Columbine changed everything. I get that.
I wouldn't even say that, because Columbine was such a one-off at the time. And then after I graduated high school, even after that, 2011, 2012, the shootings started to get more and more and more. And so I get needing to lock that down in schools, for sure.
There should be armed guards at every school.
Right.
We've got the money for it. Don't tell me we don't.
Yeah, just put it in the place where it's supposed to go, not your pockets. But that's my distrust of what's happening in the world right now. But for Ja Morant to be suspended by the NBA for simply having a gun in a video is a joke. He's allowed to have a gun. He didn't do anything wrong. Why are you suspending this guy for doing nothing wrong?
Again, there's more to it than we don't know that hasn't come out yet, but I'm right there.
I hope so. I hope so. There needs to be more to this, because this is dumb. Because if there's not more to this, then there's a problem. And the NBA needs to back off this. The Grizzlies need to back off this, because the kid did nothing wrong. And if I'm Ja Morant and I'm simply being suspended by my team, especially if it's without pay, for doing nothing wrong, I am taking a lawsuit against the NBA and the Memphis Grizzlies.
Believe me, I'm sure that's already been done. But last weekend, over Mother's Day weekend, it was the first senior major of the year, and I'm going to call out.
I pulled a U on Mother's Day, by the way.
What? What did you not do? God.
Tip to the husbands of the world.
Oh no.
When you plan, I was so good.
Yeah, apparently not.
I had a picnic planned. We were going to go on a hike because she loves going on hikes.
It's raining.
I had the stuff made for the kids, made great stuff. I forgot the card, which is whatever. I forgot she likes those. But I had everything set up perfectly. It was going to be an outdoor adventure.
But
it rained.
It rained.
I didn't have a plan B. And I didn't know it was going to rain. I never checked the weather. They
were saying it was going to rain here.
I never looked. I'm like, this is a perfect plan.
Uh-huh.
I got this. I am the husband of the year right now. And God laughed at me.
Laughed hard. That was your uncles up in heaven looking down going, boom.
This is why you have a plan B. So for those husbands out there that are celebrating Mother's Day with their amazing wives who are amazing moms, make sure you have a plan B. Learn from me. But you are going to say.
Anyway, so the Regents tradition on the senior PGA was last weekend.
Yeah.
Steve Stricker steps up and wins, not by 1, not by 2, but by 6.
Why do you think he's doing so well? This is an interesting question, because you see guys who were middle of the road PGA players, right? And Stricker qualifies for that. He was good.
Yeah, but he was
middle of the road.
He made it to, he was like one shot behind in a PGA championship one year.
Right.
But he was.
And you have these stars in the PGA that win these tournaments, yet these middle of the road guys start destroying these stars in the senior tour, and Stricker is one of those guys. He's winning everything.
He is.
And he's playing against people like used to be Phil Mickelson.
Well,
you have people, why is that?
Montgomery, Ernie Els,
right.
Bernard Langer, although Langer is getting much older now.
They were all better than him.
Yeah. And Langer dominated that tour for a long time. He's gotten 45 wins. Stricker is outpacing him. Now, Stricker doesn't play a lot.
Right.
He plays a smattering of events. He doesn't even usually play in the fall final championship series because he's hunting during that time.
Yeah.
So he's turning out to be just an outstanding senior player. He was always a great player. And I give him so much credit because he changed equipment.
Yeah.
And that hurt him badly.
It did.
And he went back and he retooled his swing. I love his swing. It is a swing every amateur should look at and try to copy because it's so simple.
In case you're wondering who his favorite golfer of all time is.
Well, I can't swing like Jack Nicklaus or Lee Trevino. But Steve Stricker's just got a great swing, and he is just so freaking consistent.
But why do you think that has transitioned to the senior tour better than it ever did to the PGA?
Maybe they're a little shorter courses. You know,
that's fair.
PGA Tour is a much longer course.
That's fair.
He's never been the longest guy on tour. Yeah. He can hit it out there, but maybe that's it. I don't know. His wedge game is the best. Maybe the best in either tour. He is just so deadly from 100 yards in. There's one lesson to be learned from him. That's it.
Fair.
Something I've never learned.
Greatest college player of all time. Won 3 national championships.
At Illinois. He's from Edgerton, Wisconsin.
You know where the greatest golfer of all time, as you've told me several times throughout my life, which I now agree with you, by the way. You know where he went to college?
Ohio State.
The Ohio State University.
He went
the Ohio State University.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
So anyways, so this week is a PGA championship, which is going to be played in Oak Hill in New York, upstate New York.
Right.
John Daly's not playing. He's a former winner.
Out. Yep.
He's a former winner. Doesn't surprise me at all. I
don't think he's doing well.
I don't think so either. He's been fighting cancer for a while.
Yeah.
And I hope he's doing well. But it's going to be in the Masters, the first major of the year. You had Bruce Koepka, who was right there the whole time. Brooks. What did I say?
Bruce.
God. Sorry, Brooks. Koepka, who was right there all weekend, playing incredibly well. You had Phil Mickelson, who finished second.
You know how many times you've called that kid Bruce, by the way?
No, I keep doing it. And you keep correcting me and laughing at me. Sorry, Brooks. Anyways, 2 LIV Tour guys are right up there at the end. But they didn't get it done.
What are these guys doing on the PGA Championship?
What do you mean?
Like, this is the PGA Championship. The Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, all the LIV guys are not a part of the PGA Tour anymore.
Former winners.
It doesn't matter. They're not a part of the PGA Tour anymore. So why are they playing at the PGA Championship?
I don't know. Because it's a major championship and they're letting them play.
But it's the PGA Championship.
I don't know.
So why do people that don't have PGA cards play at the PGA Championship?
I don't know. I don't know why the decision's been made.
I know there was a whole lawsuit thing, and I know they got to play in the other majors like the Masters and the U.S. Open, the British Open, because you can't keep people out of those. Those are opens. And then the Masters has their own invites, right? But this is the PGA Championship. This is for PGA players. I don't know why I'm saying PGA this way, but it's really fun.
Well, because of this, the PGA Tournament Championship is an independent event that isn't organized by the PGA Tour.
Oh, well, there's my answer.
There's your answer.
Got it.
I had to look it up because I didn't know and I was getting frustrated about it.
Okay, got it. Well, that makes sense then.
So,
but why would the PGA Championship not be organized by the PGA?
Because it's the PGA Championship is the strongest field in all of golf, but it's run by the PGA Tour or by the PGA. PGA Tour is a separate entity from the PGA. So this is why you're going to see club pros playing in the PGA. What
does that PGA stand for then?
Back in the early 70s.
Penguins, giraffes, and anteaters?
Back in the early 70s, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer broke off, and they have a PGA Tour champions or Tour professionals division. Broke it off.
Yeah.
The PGA still exists. We've got guys around here, a lot of them, that if you're a teaching pro, you're a PGA Tour member. You're a PGA member, not tour member.
Right.
And if you qualify, you get to play in the PGA Championship as a club pro.
But that's not the PGA Tour.
No, separate deal.
But they mean the same thing.
No. Well, yeah.
Professional Golf Association. So the PGA Tour and the PGA mean the same thing, but they're different.
They're different. Yes, because one's a tournament division.
Yeah.
And one's the teaching pro and everybody else division.
But it's the same organization.
No. They have different governing people, I believe.
So
and if I'm wrong, please somebody who knows all about this, because obviously I don't, put it in the comments below and straighten him out.
While you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
17 LIV players are going to be playing at the
I'm going to stop this back and forth because clearly we're not getting anywhere with it. I'm still beyond confused what the difference is.
This thing, professional tour.
Nope. I think
Club
PGA.
Pro.
Yeah, right. But then you have PGA, which means that there would be a overhanging body that's the head of them both, because you can't just have the same name for two different organizations.
They don't. PGA Tour.
Because
PGA.
WWF had to change to WWE because there was a panda bear thing. I think that's what it's about.
Oh, World Wildlife
Foundation, yeah. And they won the lawsuit, so you couldn't have two. I learned that.
Yeah, but...
And so these can't be two because they have the same name. They have to be the same thing.
They're like brothers or sisters.
Yeah, but they're still the same thing.
They're
Brothers
not.
and sisters have a parent group above them. So they're the same family, which means they're the same thing.
But they're not the same thing.
They're not-
Because this is, where the youngest is always the favorite child,
Yeah, I've lived that
and the
life.
rest.
I get it.
Yeah, so have I. Anyways,
Yeah, you were the youngest. Try being the oldest child of two youngest children. It's an adventure. Continue.
wow.
I've cried enough.
Anyways, they're the same
Move on.
name, but
Move on. Maybe
Anyway,
somebody in the
so-
comments can explain this better to me.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyways, do you think a Live Tour player is going to win the PGA?
I mean, if Brooks Koepka sure as hell showed quite a bit, but what did I say on day 4? They were going to get tired. On day 4, he got tired. Now, it's hard to judge the Masters this year on that theory because it was really like they fit in a lot of golf in a few days.
29 holes in one day.
Yeah, that's...
And it's why Tiger dropped out. quite
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, he was going to drop out after.
And he's not playing in the PGA.
No. It's sad to say, but he's all but done. I'd like to see him win one more. I want to see him break Snead's record and become the sole leader, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I can only hope. But Brooks Koepka sure showed he could play for the first couple rounds, and that was never a question. He was always going to be in that. But again, I think that 4th day is going to make the difference because you're not playing that anymore.
And people are pointing to Phil going, well, he finished second. Well, he knows that course like the back of his hand.
Right.
He was completely out of it, and he just had a good run.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to train for a 5K right now, and I used to be able to run a mile Mom talked me into it. I'm trying.
Hey.
But I used to be able to run a mile or two very easily, because I used to run a mile a day. And then I broke my foot, and I haven't ran in a year and a half. And I tell you what, I can't run a mile anymore.
It's going to be interesting training for you. It's going to be...
And that's the same thing with these guys. If you're just not used to consistently doing that type of endurance, you're not going to be able to just magically make it happen.
I love the PGA. It's the deepest event of any of the majors, and the strongest field of any of the majors. Even though it's like the 4th major by a lot.
Yeah, I love the Live tournament and the PGA rivalry. You know me; I'd love to see it take off more and more. It's going to be interesting to see because the weathers should be holding up for this one.
It's
going to be
New
a
York.
real test.
Well, and they changed this. This tournament used to be in like late August, early September, whatever.
Right.
When it was the absolute hottest part of the year.
Right.
And it was not even fun to watch those guys try to play at times because it was so hot. So now I moved it up to May. So now all the majors are going to be done by the first part of July because it's the Masters, and then now the PGA, US Open's on Father's Day weekend, and then the British Open is like over the 4th of July.
I'm surprised they didn't move this back to like November.
No, they don't want to play that silly season. That's where you have all the PNCs and all they've got their tour championship back someplace later in the year.
Fair.
They want the courses to be in pristine condition.
That's great for golfers, though. I mean, you are getting all the majors out right away.
They'll be done by July.
Maybe it'll be good for golf. We'll see. I just want Live in PGA to really have competition. So I would love to see Brooks Koepka really make a run at this, or even Phil Mickelson. To see Phil Mickelson win the PGA Tour that has the same name as the PGA Tour, but it's not the PGA.
He won
I don't
the PGA 2 years ago, I think, and they didn't play last year. I don't know if he's playing this year. I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is. I like seeing him win just for the story because it's not the PGA, but it is the PGA. One other crazy thing that is happening. So I mentioned a rule change that has changed the game forever. And I am, of course, talking about Major League Baseball. The pitch clock has been in full effect, and I am in love with it.
Okay.
I am absolutely in love with it. So the average game time for this year, so we're in May, so we've had about a month, right?
Right.
A month of baseball. What do you think the average game time is this year?
I heard this actually about two and a half hours.
2:38.
Which is great. That's what it should be.
The lowest since
80s?
1984. Before I was born.
Okay. The 80s.
Before I was born.
I think I got that answer right. The 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just making this dramatic and making it a point. You know what the game time was last year?
Probably around 3.5, 4 hours.
No. 3 hours and 3 minutes was the average regular season
30
game
minutes
time.
off the game. But
One move has cut 30 minutes off the game.
Here's going to be my question on this, though. What happens in the playoffs? Because that's where baseball jams in all these different commercials. We're going to have a pitching change.
You're gonna cut an hour off playoff games minimum.
Because they were like 4 hours.
4 hours. The last year's World Series, the average game time was 4 hours. I
love the pitch clock. I think it's been the best addition to baseball in generations. It forces guys to get back in the bat, back in the box.
Yeah.
You don't have the human rain delay guys like Toby Harrah back in the day who would stand out and just fix his gloves.
Nomar Garciaparra.
Yeah, all those guys. Just get in the box.
Right.
Step out, look down the base, you're in, the pitcher comes, and we're going.
Right.
It's been it makes watching baseball fun again.
The control's back in the pitcher's hand now. You got to be ready with 8 seconds left.
Yes. Baseball just has to figure out a way to make these throwers pitchers.
You do. Yeah, I think this is going to help bringing the pitcher back, because here's the thing. If you're shortening this game, the pitchers are going to stay warm. These innings are going faster. These starting pitchers, their arms are going to stay warm. They're going to be able to go longer. And you're going to be able to have pitchers go 8, 9 innings again without having to worry about injury as much.
We talked about something, I don't know when you and I talked about it. It was last week after we recorded the show. Baseball got lulled into something, and we coined a phrase. We called it the illusion of 98.
Yeah.
Baseball thought in 98, because of the home run derby race between McGwire and Sosa, that's what people really wanted.
Yep.
People like to see home runs. Sure, you like to see it once in a while.
Right.
But what they really like to see is a well-played game, and that means good pitching.
Yeah.
And 98 skewed all that.
Well, this has been my question from the beginning. Why would you watch a game for a player that's really only a part of it for 10 minutes?
Exactly.
I mean, it makes no sense to me. No, you're watching it for the guy that touches the ball every single time. The star is your pitchers. Your star has always been your pitcher. Like you said, we should write a book about it at this point because it's a great name. It's The Illusion of 1998.
It just skewed the game. And granted, it was during the steroid era, which everybody knows how I feel
Greatest
about
era
that.
of baseball.
Absolute worst era of baseball. None of them should ever be in the Hall of Fame, and Barry Bonds should never see the inside, even if he does buy a ticket. Unless you're going to make a separate room filled with dog dew, and that's just where they
all belong.
No, they don't.
You don't get rid of an entire era of baseball.
Anyways, pitching was taken out of the game because all it was a home run derby. And pitching's got to be brought back. Pitchers need to have the absolute expectation that they're going to go through at least the 7th inning. Just pulling pitchers out in the 5th inning is ridiculous.
You need to stop requiring pitchers to throw 100 miles per hour then, because here's the issue is you have kids who could be great pitchers in Major League Baseball, but they know that unless they're throwing high 90s, they're not even going to get a shot to be looked at.
Which is ridiculous. I look at a guy like Zach Greinke, whose fastball at this point in his career is maybe 80 miles an hour.
Right. And the dude messes with pitchers.
He messes with hitters.
He's
still one of the best pitchers in baseball because he knows how to pitch.
Right.
You know, guys like are you telling me Greg Maddux would not have been even allowed in the game?
He wouldn't have.
Because he didn't have a 95 mile an hour fastball.
He was 94 when he first came up and then had the arm injury. And I don't know if he ever touched 90 again. But he had an 88 mile per hour fastball and a 65 mile per hour changeup.
And he knew exactly where to put the ball. He was the best pitcher of that entire generation.
Yeah. Wasn't even close.
Down.
Not even close. I completely agree.
And that's what we need to get back to. And I'll call it the Craig Counsell effect, where you just put in a different pitcher every inning.
Yeah.
That's got to stop.
It does.
I told you about a game. It was the 100th anniversary, or not 100th, it was like 75th anniversary, but Walter Johnson set the record for pitching 18 innings and winning a 1-run game. And the guy he pitched against also went 18 innings.
Yeah.
Those guys, their arms didn't fall off.
Nope.
They just pitched the game. And Walter Johnson is one of the hardest throwing pitchers of all time. He was well over 100.
Especially for his era.
No, it was a live ball era.
No, that's what I'm saying. I just meant especially for his time.
There were a lot of guys back then that could throw that hard, but it just, Johnson was exception. He was the Nolan Ryan of his day, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson, he had that kind of, they didn't have guns back then, but everybody that's ever talked about him puts him well over 100 miles an hour.
Right.
But he knew how to pitch.
Yeah.
And he had to move the ball around, and he had to face these guys in a game like that, 18 innings, probably 5 times each.
Yep.
That's when the chess match comes in.
Right. The greatest part of baseball is when a batter is facing a pitcher for the third time.
Correct.
Because now you both know each other, and now we're going to see who's better.
Exactly. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing.
No, it's exciting because you have to just, as a pitcher, if you lose, you walk off. And if you're the hitter, you lose, you walk off. Like, that's when you win or lose is the third time you face a rotation.
And some of these pitchers have to get back into the frame of mind. And I'll go back to that Corbin Burns game, which he got pulled out even though he was pitching a no-hitter, and they pulled him out in the 8th inning or whatever it was. If that would have been Nolan Ryan, he would have punched him, Craig Counsell, right in the mouth.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns should have done the same thing.
He should have, and I think he regrets it. He'll regret it for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because he'll never touch Magic again.
He's never sniffed a no-hitter since then. He will again. I think he's that good.
He could be.
But
I mean, he learned how to pitch. Corbin Burns is one of the few pitchers we still have in baseball.
And you just don't take away that chance at history.
You don't. I mean, we've talked about that in length. Here's the crazy thing is, you know who hates this new pitch clock?
Who?
Baseball owners.
Because they're putting it into their concession sales.
I'd like to see, and this is where baseball's got to change to something you said, because concession sales have to be down by major amounts, by proof that the Brewers extended the beer to the 8th inning and then brought it back because they weren't making enough money for it to make a difference. I'm curious to see at the end of the season, if we ever get to see it, what the impact has been on the concessions. But in order to keep baseball great, you're going to finally have to do what you've been saying they need to do for a long time, which is you have to start a better revenue sharing system.
Yes, you do. Well,
because if concession stands are going to go down that much, and you had to make this change, it's for the betterment of the game.
It absolutely is.
But owners are going to start freaking out at the money they're losing.
I've said this for a long time, and I'm not alone. Other people have. Bob Costas has said this as well. But I really think in baseball, especially because you have such large local TV and radio revenue streams that other teams can't touch.
Yeah.
If you really want to fix baseball and make sure that small market teams can compete on an even level, you have to have revenue sharing of local media revenue.
You do. Well, and you also have to make a rule that we've seen already you have to do, is you have to make a rule that a good percentage of that revenue sharing has to go on your players' payroll.
Call that the Baltimore-Miami rule.
Yeah, although they're winning this year. Miami's not. Baltimore is, though. They've been a surprise. So is Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens. But I think you and I have had a fun show, and you've already freaked me out with what could be coming. But you can never have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
So there's been a change in America, and I don't think it's been for the good. There's a lot of changes that haven't been for the good, but this one in particular, back when I was a kid, 60s, 70s, when I was growing up, and you were taught this as well, names never hurt you. There's an old saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. Words were never illegal. What you said was what you said. Own it. As long as you're not threatening anybody, as long as you're not hurting any, and following up on that by like taking a baseball bat to their head, you could say what you wanted. Sometimes those words got you suspended. Most of the time, though, people just need to have a little thicker skin. And I think we've gotten way, way too thin a skin in our country. Freedom of speech is absolute. People have a right to their own opinions. Go out and say it. If they say something outrageous, criticize them, put them in a box, and ridicule them. That's fine. People are trying to stop comedians from making jokes on stage because they may be hurtful to somebody. Guess what? They're comedians. That's what they do. They look at situations and they take it to the extreme. And we really need to get back to that, or we're going to be in deep trouble. Freedom of speech is absolute in this country, and everybody's speech is important. Everybody should be allowed to say what they think, and other people, if they don't agree with it, just say, okay, thanks. I've got friends that were on one side of the political spectrum and I was on the other side. And you know what? We're still friends. And this has been decades later. We disagreed vehemently, but we also had a lot of things in common. And we can look past that and realize there's a really good person on the other side. We just don't agree on certain things. And we need to get back to that. Things have gotten so polarized that if you disagree with somebody, you can be canceled. And that's got to stop. And I will leave.
You are an American father, for sure. But I think the greatest message he had from this is sticks and stones may break your bones, but Sports Talk with Dad will never let you down. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
All right, buddy.